Alrighty, folks, welcome to GP Whitecliff's finals match. Zangy on white-blue control up against Philippe Sanner on black-green Chronicle ramp. We've got some very interesting decks here, and we have a moment before the match begins. One of the players is already queued in. Once the other one loads up into the game, we will switch on over. Zangy is top seed, so I believe Zangy will choose to be on the play. Zangy, one of oh, sorry, no, Philippe is higher seed, so Philippe will presumably choose to be on the play, and that is Zangy joining. So we'll go briefly here. Zangy on a white-blue control deck, very threat light with Benthelos of Land and Sea, Illustrious Shangfan, 100-handed Pillars as their means of closing out the game, backed up by a bunch of interaction, card draw, and advantage spells, just trying to hold the opponent back before they can win the game. Philippe Sanner on a black-green ramp deck, using early ramp spells like early mana dorks like Arantan Visionary and Mana Harvesters, and even Tough Nut, alongside things like Root Fossil and Cryptolabe, to explode in mana very quickly and drop a Skotha, Titan of Eternal Dark, a Vorpal Titan, one of these two, one of Planeswalkers, or cast a Chronicle of Extinction or Chronicle of Awakening for some massive value, with Awakening being able to cheat a Vorpal Titan or Skotha into play, or one of the Planeswalkers, and with all of this mana, especially with things like Cryptolabe providing mana for flashback costs, very easily being able to flashback these Chronicles for Extinction to just shred the hand and board, or Awakening to just strip away a bunch of lands. Players have loaded in, and they are already beginning, so let me get on over to that match. Players, I believe, both kept their openers. Yep, does not look like either player mulliganed. Philippe did indeed begin on a Primal Fissure, Zangy on a Temple of Origins, and Philippe hitting a second Primal Fissure to go ahead and go get 2 lands. So Philippe, it looks like, on a 2-lander, unless this Archaic Obelisk was already in the opener, in which case it was a 1-lander, but I highly doubt it, especially with the Primal Fissure not being cracked on 1. Philippe in a bit of a pinch here mana-wise. Mana Harvesters does mean a potential Cryptolabe next turn off of a land draw. Ooh, that's not a land. Okay, Philippe hitting a pinch here. Gonna have to go for a Root Fossil and possibly just hold up the Root Fossil activation. Yeah, and that's what we're gonna see here. Buying Zangy a lot of time here. Tyranny of Tracks, Seal Away do require the creature to be tapped, so Mana Harvester is kind of immune to this removal right now. But Philippe gonna go ahead and fire this off now. 3 lands, no 4th land in Zangy's hand, so we're already going to see some mana troubles between both players here. Philippe binning All That Remains, Chronicle of Extinction, and Mana Harvesters, misses on the land. That's pretty monumental. I feel like if I see no land get milled there, if I'm in Zangy's space, I almost wonder if I would call to hold on end step and debate removing that Mana Harvesters. Philippe gonna go ahead for an All That Remains from hand, or sorry, All That Remains from graveyard, binning the one that was in their hand. Binning a Redeveloped Cityscape, a Mana Harvesters, and putting a Cityscape in hand that is going to be lands number 3 and 4 here. Zangy making a comment about the order in which All That Remains was moved. Philippe did technically exile the one from hand and put the flashbacked one back in graveyard, but because there were 2 copies, this is not too big of a deal. Just a sort of clean shortcut to indicate where things will eventually end up. And Seal Away is going to come down and hit this Mana Harvesters. I wonder if the Seal Away should have come down on the Mana Harvesters the prior turn. But I suppose with the Cityscape being picked up, there was no guaranteed way to know whether or not the Cityscape was if there was a land drop that the Cityscape just superseded, or if Philippe was struggling to hit land drops. Zangy notably does also hit a land drop here with 100-handed Pillars. And Philippe is going to pop Cityscape, possibly, pitching a Vorpal Titan here. So slow starts for our players here. Philippe having some mana troubles, having to spend the early turns kind of just sculpting mana a little bit. Actually, I think Zangy definitely should have hit this mana harvesters the first moment they got, and the reason why is because we know Philippe has missed a land drop. Because Philippe was on the play and is behind on mana development compared to Zangy, and also the mana harvesters was followed up by the root fossil, which if it had been uh, harvesters into root fossil, crack root fossil, miss the land drop on that turn, and miss the land off of the root fossil, I definitely would have just removed the mana harvesters there, choked Philippe on mana a bit. Though Philippe is starting to get back in this, and posing an interesting problem to Zangy. Zangy only holding one counterspell in the hand, seeing a Cryptolabe here. Cryptolabe is going to exile all of the cards in Philippe's hand, as well as the top card of Philippe's library. Can play those cards as long as they remained exiled this way, and taps for a green and a blue to be used on spells that aren't in your hand. Or sorry, can't be used on spells currently in your hand. So can use it on the spells in exile, can use it on cards in graveyard, like casting a surfaced root fossil or flashing back a Chronicle of Extinction. Not so relevant for flashing back, say, All That Remains, just not the right colors of mana. But I've been, in spectating some of Philippe's earlier matches, I have been thoroughly impressed with Cryptolabe in this GP so far. It has looked remarkably clean in just how strong it is at providing long-term value. And of course, Philippe now getting land drops from exile, not having to worry about drawing lands for a couple turns, is sitting on 7 mana in play right now, thanks to this Cryptolabe plus 5 lands. Going to mill with Archaic Obelisk, hitting Czar and another Cryptolabe. Could think about removing the charge counter from Archaic Obelisk to draw that Czar, or draw the Cryptolabe here. However, doing so may run Philippe up into this Afara's Judgment if they go in on it here. But we are seeing them pick up the Cryptolabe. Notably, if this Cryptolabe resolves, that is going to allow Philippe to cast a Chronicle of Awakening here. Zangy says okay. I think that's a little scary. I think mana development is a major component of this matchup. And, not the Chronicle of Awakening. They can cast the Vasilisa from exile. Though it looks like Philippe is instead choosing to maybe go for the Alrontan Visionary, which makes sense. Your opponent is on multiple copies of Omen of Deception. Omen of Deception, which you can pay for with Cryptolabe. So, spending 3 on the Alrontan Visionary and then having 2 mana up with the Cryptolabe to protect from an Omen of Deception is a pretty clean way to get around any in-hand counter magic. I can't help but wonder if the best case scenario for Zangy here is to just travel through the Mystic Sea and then crack Cityscape and just let Philippe do what they want to this turn. Like, I think if they're going for Vasilisa or for Chronicle, you probably do want to counter it. Probably. See, the scary thing is, Philippe is on 9 mana here. This is going to be a flashback Chronicle next turn, one way or another, if Philippe chooses to. And Philippe just having access to double black plus like 7 more extraneous mana to flashback this Chronicle of Extinction next turn. If that resolves, if Zangy leaves themselves in a position to let that Chronicle resolve, that is probably just Zangy out of this game, because that is going to presumably be discard 2 cards 3 times. So that is something Zangy just has to be keenly aware of in this position, is that right now Philippe has the mana to just brutalize or Philippe has enough mana to brutalize Zangy if Zangy ever lets their guard down. Notably, Philippe did disconnect here. Unfortunately, Philippe has had some connection issues through the tournament. So we're going to go ahead and wait on Philippe to come back. but assuming they will be going for the Alrontan Visionary, this gives us some time to talk about players' decks a little bit more. So yeah, let's take that moment to talk about the decks a bit further. So, Zangy on Benthalo's Power with the Tyranny of Tracks, To the Last Breath, Seafloor Treasures, and Travel Through Mystic Sea as their primary draw spells. Afara's Judgment can draw cards as well, but is primarily a counter spell. Same with Divine Mishap, not often going to be drawing cards, but can. Fall of Elantin is their main board wipe, and as we know, Zangy's currently sitting on 3 Fall of Elantin in hand. Alongside the 4 each Omen of Deception and Seal Away, and 3 Gone Pickin'. And then their mana base is pretty skewed towards white to help support that Fall of Elantin, but does support a solid number of non-basics, which is a liability up against these Vorpal Titans. Philippe is back. Let's go ahead and pan back over to the match here. Alrighty. So, Philippe is not going for Alrontan Visionary. He's going for the Root Fossil from Bin. That makes sense. You know, the Alrontan Visionary is going to put something in hand, and potentially you want to keep any information that's in your library or in hand unknown until the turn that you're looking to rush it out. You know, if you get something off of the Alrontan Visionary here, you're not going to be able to use Alrontan Visionary. You're not going to be able to use the other Cryptolabe to cast the spell you get off of Alrontan Visionary. So, Travel Through Mystic Sea is indeed being played here. Going to scry 2, then draw 2 for Zangy. And presumably we will see a Cityscape crack from there. Cityscape going to bottom as well. And then drawing 2. So keeping presumably these Seafloor Treasures and then drawing a Divine Mishap as well. We do see a fall get pitched here to that Cityscape. Plains to play, island to hand. Reborn Lily does have 4 toughness for Tyranny of Tracks to pick off, though I don't imagine Zangy wants to use Tyranny of Tracks on the Lily over something else if they can. Omen of Deception is the draw here for Zangy. Does allow them to now hold up double counter spell with a couple different options between Afara's Judgment, Divine Mishap, and Omen of Deception. Skotha is the draw here for Philippe. That is a huge draw. That does allow Philippe to tap 6, fire off the Skotha, and potentially just push a ton of damage. Or push a ton of damage, push a ton of mana advantage, rather. Philippe is understandably going to combat with the Reborn Lily before choosing to use Skotha, trying to see if they can surveil over a land, to maybe untap another land with Skotha. There's no guarantee that Skotha gets used this turn. Bins a Cityscape and a Swamp, and then puts the Swamp into play. The one eventuality of this matchup that leans in Zangy's favor is because Philippe shreds through so much of their deck, Zangy can just try and play the waiting game and wait for Philippe to run out of cards in library. You know, Alrontan Visionary becomes a liability in that respect. Archaic Obelisk becomes a liability in that respect. So that is a potential avenue that Zangy can follow in terms of trying to compete on this metric. We see tap for 4 with both Cryptolabes, tap 1 more. Oh, we could see a Chronicle of Awakening here, hide the Skotha. Yeah, Chronicle hiding the Skotha. We'll see what mode they choose. No, they're going to choose to blow up the island because it is a non-creature permanent. Pick off the basics where possible. And we're going to see a Divine Mishap out of Zangy here. Electing to use the Mishap over the Afara's Judgment because the Mishap requires double blue. And presumably also the draw condition's a little harder to meet here than Afara's Judgment's draw condition is. And Vasilisa out here getting played right into an Omen of Deception, so both of these counterspells really getting to find their marks. Zangy picking up a Primal Fissure here. kind of in a bit of a sketchy situation. There's still 2 face-up cards exiled from Cryptolabes, and there's this Skotha in hand. And there's the mana to play any of these Chronicles from bin. Chronicle of Awakening being able to pick off multiple basics, backed up by the pressure of Vorpal Titan taking away the non-basics is very scary. Especially with this Primal Fissure tapped, I anticipate that Philippe will want to run out this Vorpal Titan here. Philippe taps Archaic Obelisk, milling 2 more lands. Just a moment. I want to see. They have 6 fetches in bin, 1 swamp, 2 forests. Plus they have another 3 swamps in play and uh another 5 forests in play. And they just did their last Primal Fissure. So 8 forests, 4 swamps, and 7 of the 8 fetches. They have one. Yeah, they have 1 cityscape, 1 forest, and 3 swamps in their deck. We are seeing tap for 6, 7, 8. Interesting. Is this just going to be Vorpal Titan without using the Cryptolabes? No, this is floating 2 mana for a Skotha. Oh, that is rough. And Zangy is going to Afara's Judgment this here. But the problem with Afara's Judgment is you can just use Cryptolabe plus the black mana to flash back the Skotha anyways. I think you never are able to counter this Skotha. I think you just have to accept discarding a card here. Yeah, but now you have to discard a card to the Skotha anyways. You lost your counterspell. Philippe now gets to crack this fetch and Vorpal Titan, taking Zangy off of 3 lands. Or can go for the Chronicle of Awakening after all, and just pick off a bunch of basics all at once. Definitely looks like Zangy is in a tight spot here. Philippe looking very favored. Tapping 8 for the Vorpal Titan. Gonna pick 3 lands out of play here. Notably, this Skotha should not be in play. It should be at the bottom of its owner's library. I do believe I'm going to intervene here. Oh, Zangy has noted it, so there's no need for me to. Yep, Skotha gets moved to bottom of library here. But yeah, Vorpal Titan taking out 3 lands from Zangy, really cementing the mana advantage that Philippe has and the squeeze that Zangy is under. 2, 4, 10, 10. Even, Gone Pickin' or Tyranny of Tracks picking off this 10-10 is not going to do enough. Could Seal Away and Tyranny of Tracks pick off both of these creatures? But the reality of the situation is that you do that, and then Philippe just gets to... Oh, Philippe... Philippe put Skotha on the bottom before using Fissure. I see. So they're going to go ahead and shuffle to correct this. But yeah, Zangy does get to hold up mana here, but Philippe just has 12 damage in play. Put Zangy to 4. We see pair of Cryptolabes tapped here, plus 4 more mana. Oh, there we go. 5 more mana plus the Cryptolabes. This is going to be one of the Chronicles. Could see it be Chronicle of Extinction, just take things out of hand, but this is going to be Awakening. I think picking off the planes here makes sense. And again, I kind of wish we had seen, the Seal Away on Reborn Lily here, or even, Tyranny of Tracks plus Seal Away. Just get these both out here. Yeah, Philippe hitting the island in 2 planes. definitely makes sense. So players going to sideboard, let's take a moment to look over what our sideboard options are here. Philippe has 1 Verkalakis, 2 Club Promoter, 1 Hungry Blob, 1 Thunderous Avalanche, 2 Final Fate, 4 Dissect Intel, 1 Upstage, 1 Serrated Fossil, 2 Soul Guide Lanterns. I anticipate the Serrated Fossil and Dissect Intels to be pretty good here. The rest is pretty useless. Could see maybe some of this enchantment removal coming in to try and pick off some of these removal spell enchantments that Zangy is on. But otherwise, I think, just the hand attack of Dissect Intel and Serrated Fossil is pretty good here. Not really sure too much of what would come out in Philippe's situation here. Maybe an Archaic Obelisk, maybe definitely the Final Fate. I think the Final Fate's pretty dead here. I could see maybe going down some Chronicles Extinction because it's pretty much just a Mind Rot in this matchup, or a Go Blank rather. Chronicle Awakening definitely puts in work though, both for the permanent removal mode and being able to slip things in if it goes uncountered. Zangy has 4 Looming Psyhawk, 1 Illustrious Shangfa, 2 Tyranny of Tracks, 4 Fall of Tracks, and 4 Soul Guide Lantern. I can see the Fall of Tracks coming in here, gums up the board a bit and picks off a lot of the ramp targets that Philippe is aiming at. Players have begun the games, so let's go back over. Zangy on the play here, both players keeping their opening hands again. We see 3 land, double Root Fossil, all that remains Skotha on Philippe's side, versus Temple of Origins plus Soul Guide Lantern on the start with Zangy, with another Soul Guide Lantern in hand and 2 more lands. Lantern's definitely a good one to have here, just with how graveyard dependent Philippe's deck is. Another reason why maybe Archaic Obelisk should come out from Philippe's deck, just because, if you're putting a bunch of stuff in your graveyard, that mill engine from Archaic Obelisk only does so much in the face of a Soul Guide Lantern. It will still be able to draw you a card because of the way that the timing rules work on Obelisk, but at least I believe so. Yeah. Yeah, you remove the counter and return the card as part of the mill effect. So Archaic Obelisk can still draw a card and be card selection. But the milling component of Archaic Obelisk is going to struggle in the face of lanterns. And that is the 3rd lantern picked up from Zangy. So Zangy definitely has the graveyard covered in this particular match. But we do see the Archaic Obelisk still in deck, drawn from Philippe here. And just shipping on back. And assuming Seafloor Treasure is going to come down here, yeah. We will get graveyards popped out here because the Seafloor Treasures makes Zangy's graveyard somewhat relevant. And of course, Philippe's graveyard is relevant as well, just to see what things call for a Soul Guide Lantern here. Temple of Origins, number 2, drawn here, plus I believe the planes drawn off of the Seafloor Treasures, and a 100-handed Pillars gone to the bin. Actually a little confused by bidding the 100-handed Pillars over the planes, because you do need ways to win the game, and 100-handed Pillars does provide that. I suppose it's just a concession to Vorpal Titan and wanting more basics, though at that point I wonder if just playing more basics now would be a little... No, not too prudent, because Temple is untapped now and not untapped on future turns. Ignore that. That is me just kind of trying to follow things a little bit. We do see the Club Promoter brought in by Philippe here, though it is not kept on top. 1 of 2, so presumably Philippe is on both. And Philippe did get back a Cityscape with the Root Fossil, so we'll be able to pitch the Cityscape in hand, go find 2 basics. Could see Root Fossil into just crack Root Fossil on Zangy's turn. And this is the reality of this like Chronicle deck, is that you can do all of the mana dork ramp nonsense, but you can also just put lands into play, use Root Fossil, put more lands into play, play the slow game against opponents that aren't trying to kill you. You really just have the luxury to develop your mana and try and build your way up to just hard casting these like massive mana value creatures, uh, just completely unfettered. Omen Deception picked up by Zangy here. We'll find purchase if this. We'll potentially find purchase if this root fossil can develop into a Skotha next turn. Second Lantern pitching away a root fossil from the bin. This I think makes sense here. You know, if Philippe mills over, like surveils over a bunch of cards in the graveyard, Philippe can try and cast a root fossil from the bin here. But we only see a forest get put into play. Is Philippe keeping the other two? Looks like they may. Binning a swamp. I feel like in this position, I would want to bin both cards if I can, just because being able to root fossil, being able to threaten the root fossil cast is really important here. Though, you know, casting this Dissect Intel does actually kind of accomplish that because Zangy does need to crack the Soul Guide Lantern. If this Dissect Intel resolves, there's going to be 7 cards in graveyard, and Philippe will have the first chance at priority to cast this root fossil from bin. So Zangy recognizing what needs to be done here. We will see if Zangy decides to use an Afara's Judgment here. We are going to see the Afara's Judgment. Followed by an Archaic Obelisk developed. Philippe going to go ahead and mill 2. Milling a Cityscape and a Chronicle. One of the nice things about Soul Guide Lantern is that it does keep the Flashback Chronicle plan in check fairly well. Gone Pickin' drawn here. Could be nice to pick off one of these creatures in hand if they come down. Though Lantern also just gets to, if this Skotha gets countered, Lantern can just pick the Skotha out of the bin. Second Skotha drawn. Going for the Obelisk. Milling Forest. All that remains. Removing the counter. Assuming the forest is getting picked up here. Yeah. Pulling the forest back. Yeah, because if you get to resolve Skotha here, you can threaten the Vorpal Titan. I feel like in this position, you go for Skotha and just leave a mana up to float it if the Skotha resolves. But yeah, Philippe's going to take it slow and just play the all that remains from hand. If Philippe can put something scary into bin to kind of put pressure on this Soul Guide Lantern here. I forget how many copies of Skotha. Yeah, Philippe is only on 2 Skothas, so there's no world where Philippe can, like, all that remains into Skotha to bin off of this spell and then immediately pay 4 to threaten a Skotha activation. One nice thing about Soul Guide Lantern is you can hold the Lantern to play after Skotha. Yeah, Cryptolabe is going to force the Omen of Deception here, unsurprisingly. But yeah, you can hold Soul Guide Lantern to activate in response to a Skotha activation because it stays in graveyard when you activate it. Zangy just drawing a Plains here, kind of awkward. they're now really running out of options. These lanterns really showing that, you know, having the graveyard interaction is nice, but you need something going on to back up the graveyard for the graveyard interaction to be backing up. And a Vorpal Titan is going to go uncontested here. If I'm Zangy, I tap these temples to use for Omen of Deception sacrifice to try and fix the top deck, because you are now under the squeeze. And that is exactly what Zangy is doing. Oh, Seafloor Treasures actually makes sense too, because you still have the mana up to Omen of Deception. Um, yeah, unfortunately, can't Seafloor Treasures before the Vorpal Titan resolves, because the 2 lands going to bin is what puts you at 7. I didn't even see the 5 cards in graveyard, despite having the graveyard popped out. So that makes actually a pretty solid heads up play. Travel through the Mystic Sea is the draw here. Kind of awkward, especially as you're sacrificing Omen of Deception. Like, your devotion to blue is almost never going to be 3 or greater this game. So this is going to be double blue for a spell that's really not castable. I would have picked the Yarfara's Judgment over the Travel Through the Mystic Sea, I think. Picks up planes, despite putting it... Okay, put 1 planes to the bottom with Omen and put a planes on top. And it's going to get to Gone picking the Vorpal Titan before it hits in. But the unfortunate reality is these Skothas are just going to apply pressure to Zangy's hands. This Travel Through the Mystic Sea is not long for this world. And Philippe held up the Archaic Obelisk, so gets to pop it after the Soul Guide Lantern has done its thing. Untaps and draws an Alrontan Visionary. So notably, the Lantern did pick off the All That Remains here. And yeah, Philippe is going to float 2 mana, go for the Skotha, and there's nothing Zangy can do about it. So Philippe gets to untap, fire off Archaic Obelisk again, mill over Forest Primal Fisher, and I see him just go for the Alrontan Visionary. And you either hit something fun to cast here, or you can just pay 6 and wander it. Takes a swamp, bins Primal Fisher Serrated Fossil. Ooh. Yeah, and now can surface, or no, 1 card shy of surfacing the Serrated Fossil. Yeah, so it has to wander the Alrontan Visionary, which means this Serrated Fossil is not going to get surfaced this turn. If I'm Zangy, you've got to wait on this Soul Guide Lantern. Oh, you're going to Lantern in response? No, I think that's a little wrong, because there's going to be no opportunity here for Philippe to use this mana to cast the Fossil here. And there's nothing else that Philippe can hit to be able to cast either, besides maybe an All That Remains. But you know Philippe is on 2 copies, and they're both in exile. I think it was a little premature on the Soul Guide Lantern here. Yeah, we see nothing notable go to graveyards, so... The one big thing here is that means that if a Chronicle got milled over, the Chronicle would be safe in graveyard, and if a Root Fossil got milled over, that'd be safe in graveyard as well, though there's only 1 possible Root Fossil left in deck. Looming Scyhawk is the draw for Zangy. Skotha, or sorry, Land, I believe, is the draw. Yeah, Forest is the draw for Philippe. And just going for the Cryptolabe here, which is going to reveal this Skotha, as well as draw the top card for Philippe here. And if I'm Philippe, I'm feeling pretty comfortable here. Forest off the top with the Cryptolabe, so that's another kind of whiff here. But that's 3 Soul Guide Lanterns in bin out of a possible 4. And Zangy has done a whole lot of nothing in the meantime. Yeah, Zangy kind of says what we're seeing. Pretty over, I think. We'll see what they draw. This game looking very, very rough for Zangy, but this is kind of the power of Philippe's deck. Just an absolute control killer. Chronicle of Awakening is the mill here. Oh my god. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana available here to Philippe. Can just flash back the Chronicle here. Go for destroy 3 non-creature permanents, pick off the island and 2 planes. Honestly, I think you could even go for the Vorpal Titan, just get more power in play. But it doesn't really matter. Zangy calls the GGs, and that is going to be a very clean 2-0 for Philippe Sanner on Green Black Chronicles. Congratulations to Philippe on the GP win. Congratulations to Zangy on a hard-fought tournament. And very interested to see how the meta shakes up going into this next month. I have a little bit of advance notice on what kinds of changes are coming. And I'm very excited for the patch notes to go up so I can talk with all of you about the changes that are coming. So that is the end of Grand Prix Whitecliff with Philippe Sanner taking it home with the Black-Green Chronicles list. And Philippe in chat thanking the Revolution community for matching up against pretty much only control decks. As that match showed, you know, Philippe's deck is very well positioned into control, and very, very low aggro, very light aggro field. Only one aggro deck, like full aggro deck, really making the top cut. Ton of control decks in the field for Philippe to match up into, which was beneficial for Philippe, and really helped this like anti-control deck take over the field. So very clean performance, very great deck selection by Philippe, which does make Philippe again our February 2025 GP Whitecliff champion. On that note, I will see you all soon, as today is February 28th, which means patch notes go up tomorrow, which means the patch review video goes up tomorrow. So stay tuned. Looking forward to talking about all of the changes that are coming. And in the meantime, I'll see you all in the Revolution chat. Bye-bye.